this time I've headed much further west than I normally have been. Just passed through the village of Salthouse, and I'm en route today to Cley. So just about 5 minutes away now down the road. Woke up to fairly grey and overcast skies this morning, and it's a fairly stiff breeze, but as I've got down to the coast, it's now cleared, the sky's cleared out a bit. The breeze is actually not as bad here. I think it's going to be a fairly stiff northeasterly today on the beach, which might make it a little bit choppy. But last week, when the conditions were very similar, it fished quite well. So fingers crossed we'll get a bit of action today. So as I say, what I've done is I've come down to the coast from Norwich and then headed from Cromer west along the coast. I've just stopped off at the tackle shop, which is Ray's at RUNTON in West Runton. Collected some lovely fresh lug and a few other little odds and ends, and that's a tip really. If you want up-to-date information and freshest bait possible, always try to visit a tackle shop that's near to the venue you're going to fish, because they'll have all the information up to date. And so yeah, he said it's been fishing reasonably well. I'll go through later on what we're expecting to catch, but with this wind later on, it's going to pick up this afternoon and get up to quite dusty weather later on, and so I think as time goes on today, the conditions are going to get worse as regards to the wind, but we shall see. I've got a special little guest with me today. You'll get introduced to her later on, but just a few more minutes to go now into the village, Cley Next The Sea. As regards to facilities for this venue, they're pretty sparse, to be fair. There's no toilet facilities or any shops in the immediate area. Okay, just coming up here on the right now where these railings are is the access to the beach. If you carry on a little further, about another half a mile, 3/4 of a mile further on, you'll come into the little village of Cley Next The Sea. And there you'll find some tea rooms, possibly with toilet facilities. Going to be a little village shop or whatever you're there. Continuing on down here, it's a little bit twisty turny, and it will get a little bit narrower further up here. You just got to watch because there's quite busy, people in and out all the time here. There used to be a little guy sitting in a hut taking the money. You could literally pay for an hour or whatever. But I say, as things move on, well, there is a little guy sitting in the hut. Maybe it is going to be back to normal. Now I think that's where the machine is. We shall see. No, there's definitely man in the little hut. Well, I'll take back everything I said. I've just actually pulled up to the little kiosk there, and there's a guy manning the kiosk, and he's just sold me a car park ticket, and it is as what I said, £3 for 3 hours, or over 3 hours, £5, so not bad at all. I'm all paid up now for the day. He's also got a board up on there, gives you a little bit of information like how it's been fishing and stuff like that, so it's quite interesting. I was told that it's been done with one of these card machines and stuff, but I probably think that's for out of hours. If he's not going to be there all day, I think when you come down here you'll pay on the card machine. But anyway, I'm now going to get unloaded, get sorted out, head on the beach. See you there. Yes, so pay at the kiosk. It's like the old days. So you got a lovely big car park. It's a little bit windy down here now, so I'll just give you a brief show of the car park. That over there is a shelter. When I first came here I thought that was a toilet block, but it's not. It's just a shelter. Plenty of room for the parking. Shingle bank. Then we're over onto the beach. The usual choice is left or right. I'm going to go left today because apparently the guy in the kiosk just told me there's quite a few people to the right, so we'll try and get a little bit of space on our own. When I say we, I got my little helper with me today. So there's Sadie. She's come for the ride. It's only her second fishing trip, so she's a little bit, yeah, she don't know really what to make of fish. I think if she gets the chance she'll chomp into one, so I have to be a bit careful with that and the bait. So what I'm going to do now is get loaded up. We'll have a walk over and then we'll walk as far down as I think we need to be. Okay, I've come over the top by the shelter there, and I've walked about 250 yards to my left. No one down this end. There's several people fishing up the other end, and also people on the beach. As I said on the way here, we've got a very fresh northeasterly, that's 14 or 15 at the moment, and that's a fair old lump on the sea, but that's going to be building up heavier as we go on. So what I'm going to do now, I've set up just one of these Conti rods at the moment, and I'm going to get that out, have a test cast, see what it weeds, make sure that it's not swamped with weed. I see a few little bits floating on the top, it doesn't look too bad. And then I'll probably start on something like a 2-hook flapper, fairly long snoods, just to have a little search about, see what's about. I'm expecting possibly a bass today, looking at that. I know that last week when the conditions were similar, they also caught some decent flounders, so I wouldn't mind a decent flounder, to be honest with you. Baits today, if I can keep them away from Sadie dog. We've got some nice fresh lug I've just picked up from Ray's. Then I've got some squid, a few sandeels, a little bit of mackerel, just a chop and change. I put the shelter up for the dog, out the wind, and now I'm going to press on, get a rig baited up and get out there and see how it goes. Right, I've set myself up 2-hook flapper. I've got size 1 hooks on, fairly short snoods, it's a roughish sea, so fairly short snoods. Straight lug on the top hook, and I've got lug tipped off with a bit of squid on the bottom. Starting off with a 5-ounce lead just to see what's going on. Let's get these cast out. Right, I've got the first cast out. As I say, sea's a little bit lumpy, so some of them knocks on the tip are going to be the waves. Didn't put it out very far, about 35 yards, just beyond the main breakers. If there's going to be bass, they're going to be there. Hello. Looking like a pull already. Yes, I think as this wind builds up and the sea gets rougher, it's going to be a lot more difficult to spot bites, but it could be a case of just reeling in on a regular basis and finding out you've got something hanging on the end, flatfish wise. But anything significant, bass or a hound later on, if I try for a hound, you'll soon know. Yeah, it definitely looks out of sync. I'm probably going to give that a look. It's not been out 2 minutes. I might put it out a little bit further just to lift that line up. Target species already. Little flounder. I'm going to get some water so I can look after it. Yeah, so that's not a bad start. Plump little flounder on the first cast. I said on the way here I'd be able to catch a flounder today, and we've done it, first cast. So I'm now rebaiting up with the same again. Just refreshed both the baits, straight lug on both top and bottom now. I'm going to put that back out exactly where it was, see if we can't repeat that, catch a few more. So, I went a little bit further that time. I'm quite surprised to see there was no significant amount of weed. There was just a tiny little bit on the leader knot, which I just had to remove. But if it stays like that, I'll be well happy. I'll just let that settle and I'll show you the flounder we just had. There she is. Lovely mottled colour, you can tell it's a flounder, straight lateral line. Just a dab, curls up there, straight through. It's also smooth both sides. What a great start. There you go. Fantastic start, flounder first cast. Someone will eat it if they get the chance, because it eats more or less everything else, but you're not going to get the chance this time. There you go. Needs to be cooked before you can eat it. Unfortunately, that's not for you. Let's go in again. Same as last time, so potentially another flounder. Not that time. That was a large crab hanging on. It dropped off right at the bottom of the slope. So after 3 casts now, that's 3 bites I've had straight away. That's gone out for the 4th time, and already something's rattling on that. Possibly his flounders or flatfish. The size 1 hooks did appear, yeah, it's a bit big for if you're targeting the flatfish. But I think it also gives me a chance of a bass. So I'll persevere with just that 1 rod, 1 rig for now. I might be tempted at some point to put on a mini squid on a pulley rig, chuck that out a bit further, just to see what else is about. But definitely got a bit of activity on there again. You can see the slow pulls of the sea and then the sharp jabs of the fish. It's trying to really work out which is which. As I say, if you do catch a bass or a hound, there's no mistake in the bite. The rod was just hooked right over. I'm quite surprised there's not more people fishing here today. I did think Bank Holiday Monday that it could be quite busy, but I suppose if a lot of people like me got up this morning and looked out the window and it was sort of grey and blowing a bit, they might have thought better of it, gone somewhere else. But tucked around the side of the shelter, it's absolutely gorgeous, lovely temperature, but as soon as you step outside you can feel that wind cutting through you. crabs. Crabs are more in the baits, definitely. Just means got to do a few more bait changes than normal. That's no big deal though. And what I'm going to try this time, I'm going to put a worm bait on the bottom and put a whole mini squid on the top hook, just to see if I can't tempt something a bit bigger. If it doesn't, it'll also mean it lasts a little bit longer with the crab activity, so that's what I should do next. Mini squid on the top, worm on the bottom. What I've decided to do now is I've set my second rod up and I've put that out on a more conventional pulley rig, but instead of your standard pulley panel or a large J hook, I've gone for a 2/0 circle and a little dongle on it. Now I've not really had a good chance to try this out yet. I've made a load up and never got round to using them, so I think today would be an ideal opportunity. So onto that dongle I've put a whole mini squid, and it's basically, in terms of how it is, it's the equivalent of a carp angler's hair rig, except the hair is a little bit stiffer. It's got a ring on the end which attaches to your bait release, and then you bind your bait to that hair, if you like. So yeah, I'm probably one of the last people to ever try it, but I'm going to give it a go today on a throwaway rod, the left hand rod. I'm going to keep that in and out all day just to see if I can catch on this dongle. Obviously the idea with the circle is that it rolls into the corner of the jaw of a fish, and they're all lip hooked, so I've got that as like a sleeper rod on the left. Clutch is set light so it can pull line if something big does pick it up. Be interesting to see. Pretty much still all intact on the dongle rig, which is quite a surprise considering the other rod's getting crabbed to bits. Try a little sandeel and squid cocktail on that one now. Should be a quick question of just nipping off the old one down the elastic. That's how I've actually got the hook set up, so it's a stiff piece of 60-pound mono, split ring on the end which could go in the imp. So that's the sand eel and squid cocktail whipped onto the dongle, ready to go back on. You might see me shaking the rod when I pick it out. It's because there's obviously some weed in the water and it's now being picked up on the line, and the wind blows it up the line. It gets about halfway between the sea and the rod and just swings about, and that's what gives you those false indications. At the moment it's not too bad. It's that sort of, you can get it off by just flicking the line, a couple of flicks and it's gone. It's quite manageable at the moment. I'm anticipating that will at some point get a little bit worse. Then it's a question of picking at it a bit more to get it off. There's also the chance that at some point on the flood tide, maybe just before the top or just after, that it will be virtually unfishable. You get big balls of brown weed on the line and you're almost to the point of cutting the leader off each time because it's so thick. So hopefully it doesn't get that bad, and we'll just keep soldiering on. After that initial flounder, it's gone pretty slow, to be fair. I think I'm being crabbed out a lot of the time. But yeah, a little while to go to the top of the tide, so I'll keep pressing on. Haven't had any success yet with the dongle. We haven't had a bite on it yet, but we'll keep putting it out. I just changed over now, and there's a piece of 2 strips of mackerel now hanging on there. So we'll give that a test. And I'm going to up the lead to a 6, just to make sure it stays in position. Quite a bit of weed sliding around on the line now. Yeah, that's gone out a lot further with that 6 on as well, against the wind. That's took it out probably 25 yards further. Snoring her head off. Got a lovely flounder. Next best thing. Just managed my second flounder. Quite a nice one. They come on the straight lug again, so I'm just going to keep going with that rod. I've got loads of lug. I'll just keep piling them on there. See what I can get of you. So what I've done now is stuck the rods as high up as possible and trying to avoid this bit of, there's like a line of weed going along right where the line goes into the water, and if I can avoid picking that up, I'll be able to stay out there a lot longer. So I've got a whole mini squid now on the dongle rig, and I've just refreshed the worms on the bass rig, which is a long 2-hook flapper. Still no other people down here fishing this side. There's a couple the other side of the gangway, slipway, and the wind has definitely picked up. I don't know, you can't really get an idea of what it's like, but if I just take the mic and we'll pop it over the other side, you'll get some idea of exactly how strong that wind is. Picking up by the minute. So we've got 1 hour until high tide, and the wind at the moment is gusting 23, so it's gone up to 5 or 6 miles an hour since I got here this morning. So it is doing what they said it's doing. So I'll fish to high tide. Probably give it an hour the other side. If it doesn't improve, I'll then think about maybe packing up. And it's not going to happen. It doesn't always happen. You do get sessions where you struggle, and just had a knock on there. Yeah, there's a bite on that right hand rod. Just wait for it to develop. That looked like a schoolie to me. Is it going to come back? No. A couple of sharp taps, then another one, and that's gone. So there you can see what I was explaining earlier on about the weed sliding up the line till it gets to your rod tip. It's just in the surface layers of the water. Catches the line. It doesn't really pull the rig out of place at all, but it just, the wind catches it on your rod and it shakes it all over the place. It's just annoying more than anything. Right, I'm going to give that right hand rod another bait change, and I'm going to put on a very special rig. I'm going to put on a Pete Simmons boom rig. If it works for Pete Simmons, it's good enough for me. That's going on now. Refreshing the boom rig. Very slow. I can understand it though. It's getting rougher by the minute. finally the sun has made an appearance. The wind's still up, but the sun's finally burst through and made it into an absolute belter of a day now. As I say, it's a little bit fresh in the wind, but get out that wind, it's absolutely gorgeous. I'm on my last few bait ups now. I've got half a dozen worms left, probably 2 or 3 casts, and then I'm going to call it quits. Right over the top of high now. Just started picking up a few more flounders. I just had one out 10 minutes ago, and then I just dropped one in right in the edge as I was reeling in. I think there's one on there now, so I'm just going to deal with that. Have a rebait. Come on to the feed a bit now, just after the top of the tide. I would assume if they don't feed on one tide, they feed on the next. I mean, that's the 1.0 hook on there. It's on the famous Pete Simmons boom rig. More intended for bass, really. So it just goes to show you that when these fish want that bait, they'll get it, because there it is. Look, there's a 1.0 hook in there, and that's somehow managed to get it in his mouth and hook himself. The beauty about that is, it makes it easy to actually unhook. So lovely looking fish. A little bit smaller than the others I've had today, but welcome nonetheless. Put them in the water, just give them a bit of recovery time. I think what I'm going to do now is wrap this rig away and slowly start packing up now. I've still got the other rig out with a circle on. Not had any bites on that whatsoever. I don't think it's nothing to do with the rig or the circle, it's just not produced any bites. Cast further out with a bigger bait. If I'd have popped that one on a scratching rig, I'd have probably had flounders on that one as well. So that was an experiment. I like to do something a little bit different on the other rod if I got to, so at least I know I need to give that a little bit more of a try, maybe when the smooth hounds are about. Okay, back of the car all packed up. Dog's had a nice drink. Crashed out in the back seat, all my gears away, down to a t-shirt. You can see how much the car park's filled up since this morning, first thing. Still a little bit of wind over here, but it's not till you go over the ridge you actually feel it. Yeah, they've gone home for the night in the hay box. So as I said before this morning, there is over there a card operated machine which you use out of hours. So what I'll do now is make my way home. Thank you very much.